get started. A lot of familiar faces in here, but for those of you that don't know, this is our Rover Master Class. We try to put these on once a month, just go over some specific topics or modules within Rover. Quick introductions. My name's Curtis. I'm one of the customer success managers here. We also have Bill Baker, one of our senior manufacturing consultants, comes with a lot of experience in the manufacturing world. And we also have Corinne Felix, our project manager. Today we're going to be going over material planning tools, MinMaxing, MRP, and TPOP Essentials. So Corinne is an expert in that field. She has a lot of planning and inventory management experience, and she's also APIX certified. So she's our subject matter expert in that for today. So with that, I'll kick it off to Corinne to get us started.
Yes. All right, Curtis, you're making me blush. Yeah, so APIX certified. It's funny, that was just a lot of self-study there. But yeah, I guess what you could say is I'm that person who gets weirdly excited about clean data and properly timed materials. I could probably talk about it all day. So welcome. Happy you guys are all here. So whether you're managing production, purchasing, or inventory for a manufacturer or a distributor, this stuff we're going to review today applies to you. And excited to talk about it. So first, just when planning fails, it causes a chain reaction, stockouts, over ordering, and a whole lot of finger pointing between departments. Been a part of a lot of that stuff. One missed item can delay a shipment. It can shut down a work center or lead to expedited costs that hurt worse than forgetting your kid's birthday. Bad joke, but true story. My dad actually did forget my birthday once, and his excuse was that my birthday is too close to tax season, and he tries to block it out. So,
but just real quick, can you see the slides? I'm making sure that they're showing up in the presentation. Curtis, can you confirm that? Or
yep, cool. I can see it.
Good. Just let me know when I need to go, Corinne. We're just going to pop through a few slides, everybody, and then we'll get into Rover.
Okay. Yep. So popping through. Yep. So when planning fails, though, one missed item can just delay a shipment, right? And sometimes we panic and overcorrect, and then we overbuy. And in cases like this, you overbuy and now you don't have any space on your shelves, or maybe you don't have the space you need for the items you do need. So it's super critical that we use tools like MRP, MinMax, and TPOP. That's when they would come in to help you organize that. So these tools that Rover has standard, they give you visibility and help you plan with confidence and not with panic. So for a lot of small to mid-sized teams, MRP might not be in use yet, and that's completely understandable. It can sound a bit technical at first. So I don't think I jumped to the next slide yet. I'm probably talking way too much, but MRP can sound a bit technical, but once you see how it works, it's actually super approachable and you can save a lot of time and effort. So the importance of planning an MRP here, the slide that we're looking at, planning is a foundation of the supply chain performance, the process of balancing demand and supply across functions. With a solid plan, you get stockouts, or with a solid plan, you could, without a solid plan, you can get stockouts, bloated inventory, and just wasted spending and delays. So there was actually a time I remember where this small $2 component didn't get ordered and it held up a whole $20,000 shipment. So I'm sure there's a lot of finger pointing before then around that time. So it's good that we utilize what Rover has, and MRP can help avoid all that. So the importance of planning. Next
that
slide.
Just brings back some memories of chartered flights to bring parts in from Texas or something like that overnight, tens of thousands of dollars, and you kind of got to wonder who's going to pay for it. So failing to plan is planning to fail. Just kind of reiterate that point. So,
well said.
Okay.
Well said in so much fewer words. So MinMax versus MRP. MinMax is a set it and forget it method. simple and effective. If your demand is steady and lead times behave and are predictable, it's a great tool to use. Versus MRP, it takes it up a notch. It considers your sales, forecasts, BOMs, open orders, and tells you more specifically exactly what you need, when you need it, and where you need it in detail. So if you're managing anything beyond steady reorders, MRP is going to be making your life way easier. And if you're not using it yet, it's no big deal. It's really easy to set up. It's, so you could start small. Or use both tools, right? There's sometimes you have components where MinMax was working just fine. You had a reorder point, and then halfway through the build, just unexpected demand fluctuated, and maybe it needs to be a more dynamic MRP type of product now. So again, these tools are just standard into Rover, so definitely take advantage of the tools we have here. Next slide. Yeah, so MRP isn't just for big factories with 10 planners and a warehouse the size of a football field. Small and mid-sized teams benefit even more from utilizing tools like MRP because you usually have fewer people and way too many parts and not enough time in the day to get through it. So MRP actually reduces guesswork, streamlines ordering, and helps everyone stay on the same page. So I recall actually working on a project with a team of just a few people, and MRP kind of just helped them stop running around and actually start planning for success, right? And they've probably finally had time to eat lunch. So
yeah, just one thing to add here, like the automation is probably the biggest benefit of MRP. We're going to talk about kind of taking it a step further as well, I think, even in the next slide. But once you have, kind of got these things dialed in and you can routinely place orders through MRP or through MinMax process, then the planning becomes about managing exceptions and fine tuning how much inventory you're allowed to have and trying to optimize customer satisfaction with amount of inventory you're allowed to have, so to speak. So just a key point there is just kind of, I think this kind of highlights it, is everybody's got customers they got to take care of, and they've got investors or banks that need to be taken care of as well, the dollars and cents. So that's what it's all about. So without that, I think the last slide here kind of is just meant to highlight that. So Corinne, we talked about this yesterday a little bit.
Yep. I mean, this is our goal. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying this is the goal, right? Is to reduce our inventory levels and reduce stockouts. Yeah. Yeah.
So we talked a lot about stockouts, but we also want to talk about pushing things back a bit too. So, if we are, this is the idea, hypothetical, but it's using real data from a customer that's pretty well along, mature in this process. But it shows that before they run things, they would have something like 2,500 plus stockouts if they're just looking in the future and using MRP. Here, if they bring things in to prevent the stockouts, they could blow up their inventory, 3 million in this case, or 15%. So it's critical also that we tell you when you can push back things as well. And you can see, like in this case, the hypothetical value after bringing things in and pushing things back that you don't need, you can actually have a little bit lower inventory value and still cut your stockouts, which is a negative balance on hand, something like 20-25%. So it's just a really, it's all about just dialing things in, and then that's what planning becomes, is just balancing this inventory value and stockouts, because maybe 23 million is okay to have an inventory. So now you can focus on this remaining stockouts and buy, but not, you're not using inventory excessively. So that's pretty much the point of that slide. I don't know, Corinne, if you have anything to add there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think just highlighting those concepts, and we can start transition to the demo and show these tools and what
Sure.
Rover has. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, the intent for the rest too is we'll kind of start diving into how to implement MinMax in Rover, how to implement MRP and all the various parameters that you can use. So we'll start with the MinMax. I think is probably the simplest, but again, I don't want to downplay it. It can be very effective. I'm a big fan of Kanban systems in factories, and this is a way in planning to sort of implement a Kanban, so to speak. So I'm going to bring up a part record here. Most of our data, on the part record, you guys, the ones that, we'll be familiar with, but we've got our kind of, our stocking unit to measure. And then most of the data that's pertinent to MinMax MRP is going to be found in our material control section here. So here, just to highlight some basics, we've got our different by unit of measure as an option, and the factor MRP will use that, if you populate it to kind of predict or generate planned orders. And then in the planning information here, we have planning groups, so you can differentiate between different locations or groups of parts, groups of inventory. And then you can also, have a different buyer or planner assigned to each part. And that's going to come in to all our processes later down the road. You can filter, run reports based on buyer, run reports based on planner, run reports based on planning group, or, et cetera. So, and then these are pretty much inventory stuff. So I want to kind of bring us back to here. Defining a part as make, buy, or combo, MinMax, MRP, and we're going to not talk about MPS today, but that's, mainly this MinMax and MRP. This is all you have to do to basically flag a part to be used in the tools that are in Rover for MinMax or for MRP. So I'm going to jump from there to this just kind of standard MinMax report IMV.R5, and we're going to run it just to show you what it looks like. And I like to set this up to Excel. You can run it in different formats. You can put it on job, all those things. But I'm going to just run it wide open right now in this demo account. And we're going to run it to Excel just to show you what it looks like. Pretty basic here. We're going to see any part that's been flagged as a MinMax part. We're going to see what the safety stock is. That's our min in Rover. What the max stock is, what the average usage is, what the on hand is, and then if there's any open orders for that. So you can kind of, just in one clip here, you can kind of schedule a part using this. And I am going to jump back to the client quickly because I did miss something. Want to make sure that the parameters here that we're talking about, safety stock is set right here, max stock is set right here. Very important tool too is using the usage. So Rover, we can track usage, and basically you can define these parameters as a number of months usage instead of a firm number. So here you can kind of see on this box item, I've set it up with a max stock based on the usage and a safety stock as a discrete quantity. I just did that, for illustration purposes here, but you can see in this report, it's going to calculate the number for you. It's still going to show you the usage here, but that's kind of the whole purpose there. So that's the basics on min-max scheduling pretty much.
Yeah.
And you can get more detailed there. You can run just your min violations, run just your max violations, or run all, filter by buyer, planner, plan group here, vendor. Often we're scheduling vendors at a time, so you can run this report per vendor, and that's min-max.
Yeah. Also,
Okay.
just adding, like, we can mix min-max management on some part numbers, and then other part numbers can be MRP, right? So like your min-max might be just more simple, less dynamic, predictable, maybe low cost. Maybe it's a short lead time. It's reliant. You have a lot of suppliers, just regularly used items, obviously. So just how you can
Great
utilize MinMax. Yeah.
It's a great point, and you can flag the part for both. So it's not like you can use you could potentially be using these for different purposes on the same part. So, okay. All right, I'm going to jump back to the client here, and we're going to start diving into the MRP basics here. MRP P1, this is going to be a process that you become familiar with if you start to run MRP. So first, kind of at a very high level, let's start with kind of understanding what's going to happen here. So we've got sales orders in the system. We've got purchase orders in the system. We've got work orders in the system. MRP is first it's going to go out and look at all those demands, all the orders that are fulfilling the demands. It's going to look at your safety stock, and that's where it's going to basically, run a process, synthesize everything, and come up with planned orders that are for you to take action on and basically confirm before you release them into the wild, so to speak. So this process looks very simple, but it's a simple screen, but it's got a lot of power behind it. So to run MRP, we just, we have a couple of parameters here. You can load with or without safety stock. I'm going to leave it open, meaning I'm going to want to include safety stock in. We're going to run this process. This process you can put on a schedule, or you can run it as often as you need to. If things change in the business, big order comes in or something like that, then you're going to basically run it. Now, this is a demo box, so you can see it ran pretty quick, but the speed of that will vary. It could be a couple minutes, could be probably up to, I've seen 10, 15 minutes before. So before we go further here, we're going to look at a part that MRP has ran on. So I'm going to go back to this, part I'm picking on a little bit, the box item. So this is MRP.Q. Okay. And so this is where I pretty much can see in a very drilled in level, at a part, on a part, what's happening, what's MRP, suggesting, etc. So, it looks like I've got a massive order on this part, but
Yeah.
anyway, here I can see the on hand, I can see safety stock, I can see max stock again. I can see other parameters entered, which we're going to go back into. But here I've got detail on basically what the, each day that MRP has seen in its process, what is the requirements for that day? What are the receipts? What's the projected balance? And then are there any planned orders? And then also some details on what the requirements are coming from. So in this case, I'm just seeing that this is a gross requirement of 4 units, and it's coming from this part number on this day. Or in this case, MRP is seeing a need for safety stock, so it's just telling me where that's coming from. In the case of scheduled receipts, it's going to tell us what PO or work order is filling those. So MRP.Q, I'm going to get very familiar with. And then one other thing to add here is just notice these buckets. We can tune Rover to basically, you can see these buckets in the way that you want to when you're planning. So if you want them to be, 6 weekly buckets, 2 monthly buckets, you can configure that. We're going to show you how to do that in a second. But so this is all kind of configurable. So let's jump. We're going to go back to the part record. But first, I'm just going to go to plan.control to show you these how to set up the buckets the way you want to see them. So the command in Rover is plan.control. And you can see here for plan group 1, we've defined, this is the MRP horizon. And this is where we can say we want, the first bucket to be 7 days, second to be 7, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And then we want to jump to 4 weeks. And then we want to jump to, 12-week buckets. And then we have the option here too to tell the system that certain sales order types we want to include in MRP. Otherwise, if you leave it open, it's going to just include everything. Okay. And then last but not least, yeah, we have some options. It's going to tell you if MRP is in process and a flag to help tell it whether you want to change the schedule on new work orders. And just a reminder, if you right click, you have field help here. And if we go above, we have procedure help, which also can help kind of tell us a little bit about these screens. But that's plan.control.
And that control screen is just like a setup screen. You typically don't go into it and change it right after you set it up.
Yeah, correct.
So,
correct.
yeah.
It would be kind of usually a manager or leader or something like that would kind of periodically do that. But if you're interested in changing the buckets and things like that, then that's where you're gonna go. So now we're gonna go back to the part record here, and we're gonna kind of go through. I would call these kind of these are the parameters that you're gonna set up for for configuring MRP for your system. So the number one thing is first thing to talk about. I'm just gonna go down the list. Basically, is pegging. So we have some pegging reports. And we have the ability to just kind of peg through the bill of material different levels where demand is coming from for a given part. So on this box part, I flagged it for pegging, and then now I have the ability to, which we'll see in a little bit. Some of Rover's reports will tell us where the demand for this part is coming from if we have a question about it. Okay, order policy. So we've got two options here, discrete or fixed. Discrete is going to just basically, it's going to tell MRP to just plan for exactly what demand is came in, and it's going to try to basically net your balance out to zero. And it's not going to care if you need 73, it's going to recommend an order for 73. When we go to a fixed order policy, then we start to bring in this order multiple, order minimum parameters, order maximum parameters, which are going to automate, the sort of rules for this part on making purchase orders. So again, it's all about automation and saving us time in making purchase orders. So order minimum, that could be an MOQ from the supplier. That could be based on how much space something on your end about like where you don't want to buy less than a certain amount because you have a maybe a price break or something like that. Order multiple is usually kind of similarly, it could be a box quantity a supplier gives you or something like that. And then order maximum might just be something that you want to limit the ability for it to create orders for any more than a certain amount. MRP decimals. This is a good one as well. We can define at what precision of decimal we want to plan a part. So, if we're stocking something very valuable and we, maybe we partially consume it, then we have the option there to define decimals. Sorry, there was a question there. It looks like in the chat.
I believe it was how many characters are you allowed to have on a part number?
Oh, hey, Rich, good question. I think out of the box, it's configured at 20, but I've seen it blown up to 50, and we can change that setting for part number. So I'm sure there's some limit, but we haven't ran into it yet where it's not feasible. But out of the box, I believe we set up the field for 20 characters. Yeah. Okay. All right, just to keep going, safety stock, we talked about it earlier. This could be a usage-based number. This could be a discrete number. Usage-based has the advantage of adjusting, as your usage goes up or down, it's going to automatically adjust the parameter in MRP so that, you're not, demand starts dropping, you start using something less, you want to just kind of automatically have it do what a human would, when we would see that as a planner, if we're, managing a part at a very high level of detail. So that would be again, the safety stock, max stock spiel. Scrap factor, this is another thing. If you know, if you want to add a little bit extra demand because you know that there's something going on the floor that, you know, you're going to lose a percentage, or you're going to lose, you know, half a percentage of a part over time, it's a great way to kind of just build it into MRP, and it will plan for it. Lead time, you know, as we would suspect, this is kind of what telling MRP, you know, if I need this part, this box on August 30th, that I need to plan and have the order, you know, scheduled to come in, you know, or placed a week before. So that'd be a kind of a planned release date for the order will be based on that lead time parameter that you put in. Okay. Time phase planning. So basically TPOP, we mentioned this we're going to cover this. This is a ability to project orders. So MRP is going to have visibility of all sales orders that are in your system. But what it does not have is visibility of, you know, what orders might come in 6 weeks from now, what orders might come in 8 weeks from now. And so when you're planning a part, you know, and you've got a lead time of 3 months or 6 months or, you know, longer, what you can do here is basically input a quantity. And this is, if you look at it, it's based on 30-day, it's like a monthly amount or quantity for MRP to plan for. You can tell it that I want you to plan in the future for this amount of demand monthly. So where does this come into play? This comes into play big time on kind of high volume stock orders, kind of things like that we know demand is pretty consistent from customers, and so we want to plan for it. But we don't want to go through the lengths of like putting a forecast by part and keep adjusting it. We want just to kind of use a pretty safe number here, and we want MRP to plan for it. So I'm going to jump back to MRP.Q here, and I'm going to see if we've got, so, you know, MRP is going to tell us also, like, you know, that's a type of demand here. It's going to tell us that's a TPOP requirement here. So you'll also notice here that I don't have any, you know, TPOP requirements until August 27th. That's because I've put a 30-day setting on this so that I don't want to, I'm saying any demand in the next 30 days is hard demand from sales orders. I don't want you to plan for any forecast demand in this period. Start planning for it 30 days out, so you can adjust that way. So yeah, that would be the kind of basics there for TPOP.
Yeah.
So next we're going to go over to plan.e. So most of you probably are familiar, but we've done some little bit of work on the screen as well. So newer releases would have this. We're going to go ahead and we've got a lot of options here. We can flag for make items only, buy items, combo. We can also sort or filter by buyer, vendor, planner, category. And, you know, in this case, I'm just going to run it for buy items right now. And, oh yeah, we can also give it a cutoff date too. So what this is going to do is it's going to load, you know, all the planned purchase orders that MRP has generated. In this case, this is a demo box, so it probably looks pretty small compared to some of yours, but, you know, we've got about 20 orders that MRP is saying to buy. We can present the buy unit of measure, buy factor here too. And then, you know, it's going to basically kind of tell us what the date is, but we have the ability here to either just check the box and release this PO with whatever it's giving us, or we also have the ability to, you know, adjust things and say, okay, I'm going to actually order 40 of this, and I'm going to change the vendor here, or I'm going to leave it alone, you know, and then, you know, release it. Now, I do need to have a vendor specified in order for it to cut the PO. So just one thought there. If I've got a default vendor on the parts though, it's going to come in for me automatically. And all I'm really looking at doing is just either accepting the suggestions from MRP and cutting the purchase orders, or making some adjustments and then cutting the purchase orders. So this is our plan.e screen. I would say that's probably our material planner's best friend
Yeah.
once they start to use MRP.
Yeah.
I don't
I was just
bring-
going to add too,
Yeah.
I mean, just going over even all the information in parts study, the area we were just in, there's tons of fields there. We don't necessarily need all those, right? It's just the more information, the better. And then MRP is going to, we're like, do we like the decisions that information made? And once we feel comfortable with MRP, the plan.e is like Bill said, best friend, because it's going to basically auto generate all the purchase orders with just a click of a button based on the MRP information. So a lot of helpful tools here for sure.
Yeah.
To make the decisions for us, like suggesting for us what, but yeah, love plan.e.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to come. We're exploring new ways to where that could become somewhat AI driven, but I think the agency though of the buyer planner, I've always liked you have that ability to tweak it, you have that ability to release it here, and it's not a lot of time, but it gives you the information that you need to do that. So that's the main point here.
Yeah.
So last thing to go through is just making you aware of the reports and kind of what the different reports are. I would encourage you to look at MRP, R1, R2, R3, R4, 5, 6, all individually. They kind of bring different value. In the case of MRP R1, see if we'll try running. Okay, actually, we give it a cutoff date, and we can sort by category part number. We can print messages. This is kind of an old school. Again, you've got filters here by buyer planner category. You can predefine parts. You could save it as a job. That way, if you're doing this once a week or you're doing this once a day, you just kind of come through this with those things loaded. I'm going to go ahead and just run this report and just kind of see. It's kind of an older school view, but I've always liked it. It's kind of classic. You go part by part, and you're just this is like looking at MRP.Q, but it's going to give it to you for every part that you've established in the filter, and you can kind of just run through these and identify actions that you need, including MRP is going to give you its kind of actions as well as part of this. So I'm going to see if I can find this one's got a few ones where it's saying that we've got excess orders, we've got to push out some orders, we've got a negative inventory item. So this would be an example of planners going through and says, I've got some business to take care of on this part number. So
yeah, those messages being auto generated, right? That's not somebody putting those messages in there. It's just MRP saying you should look at this, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then so MRP R2 and R3 are very similar, I think. These are going to be, when you want to explore where the demand is coming for a part, again, we've got all those kind of, we can select parts, we can run it wide open, but it's going to basically just tell us, this is called the indented pegging report. So it will actually tell us at which level, at which finished good or assembly, I should say, is this item, demand coming from. In this case, we've got 40 and it's at level 1 of this assembly. But if there were multiple parts it's used, multiple levels, it's going to present them all for us. So that's called the multi-level pegging report. End item pegging is just going to tell us what end items are driving the demand for this part. So if we go here and I'll go ahead and run it. I gotta give it box. This is just gonna, same concept here, but you can notice it's just gonna give us the end item and the quantity instead of showing us all the levels and sub-levels. MRP.R4, this is one of our favorites too. Okay, we'll see if I like to run this personally to Excel. You could run it, on the screen as well. I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like. Okay. So this is going to be vendor by vendor, and it's going to list each part for each vendor. And then it's going to give us some data, as far as, what our release, recommended release date, what the required date is, and what the quantity recommended is. So this is kind of, the way I would put this, we kind of led with plan.e, because plan.e, you can do it all in a screen and make the POs. So that's what most people go with. But if you like pen and paper, you like Excel, this is kind of like plan.e per vendor. And you can kind of go through and just like pick which parts you want to order, et cetera. So that's the way I look at this one here, the purchasing action report.
Yeah, just like a working document, make some notes. Yeah, one of the favorites for sure.
Yeah, and then MRP R5 is just going to give you that, but instead of by vendor, it's going to be by part. And then last but not least, MRP R6. This is going to be, we'll try this. This is going to be like that first report, only it's going to be a little bit more detail here. It's going to give us kind of all the receipts, projected balance, planned orders, and it's going to give us that view, just kind of that classic view of I run this report, and you can see, basically the purpose here. So
yeah, and the thing with this report, headed back to the before you ran it, Bill, MRP R6 and MRP R1, all these exceptions that you could filter by, I think it's just a super valuable tool. Orders that need to be expedited, right? Orders just saying like issue this or pull these dates in, see if maybe you can get a supplier to reschedule. Can I get it sooner? Or order de-expedite, right? Just as an example is, can I push it out? Maybe I don't need it. Can I ask the vendor to delay so I don't have so much inventory on hand, or spending money, right, too soon, or receiving that money too soon? So just really want to highlight those exceptions. I think if you're just looking for certain messages and certain orders that had some action, you'd be able to filter those.
Yeah. And we've started to, we have Rover BI for those that aren't familiar with it, but that's been a place where, you can see all the data. All the data is here. It's a really robust MRP, but we can take it steps further with Rover BI too, that we can, visualize this and just kind of turn it into, you don't even have to run this report. It's just on a dashboard for you to click into. So, I just have a kind of, rough, this is actually how we generated those graphs about the inventory value and the stockouts that came from real MRP data. Here you can see kind of the number of stockouts before actions taken, the valuation of the inventory before and after, and I just kind of put it in a chart here. But we've got some dashboards out there where, it's literally just, here's the expedites, here are the push outs, here are the suggested dates, but it's something that you really got to fine tune based on your business as well. Like not everybody's the same, right? And so just kind of mentioning, these are all just want to give everybody an overview of all the tools, all the parameters, things like that. And I think that's kind of it for the presentation today. So
yeah.
I don't know, Corinne, do you have anything else? Or
no, I think just sharing all those different tools is really just saving time and potentially money, right? Time is money. So love the BI introduction too, because anything to make our day-to-day processes easier, because I think this type of position and workflow comes with a lot of responsibility, and the faster you can make decisions, the more efficient you can make those decisions with good information at your fingertips. A lot of great options. So
If anybody has any other comments or questions, post this, just feel free to email one of us and or Curtis or anyone on the Zoom Assist team, Allison, and we would be happy to talk more to you about it and how to get it. Just take your planning to the next level using, whether it's MRP, MinMax, BI, whatever tools we have available. Okay? And soon we'll be talking about AI, I'm sure. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.